Section 30 of Astounding Stories 15, March 1931. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Larry Wilson. Astounding Stories 15, March 1931, by various authors. Reader's Corner, Part C. Shrewd, yet somehow obtuse. Dear Editor, I like your magazine. By this I do not mean that it is the best science fiction periodical, for it assuredly is not, but it is the most reliable. I am sure when I pick up your magazine that I shall find therein consistently interesting stories. I have yet to find a story that failed to hold my attention. On the other hand, I have yet to find a masterpiece. Of all the editors, you have shown yourself the shrewdest judge of public taste, but also the least interested in the advancement of science fiction. Your authors are among the leading lights in science fiction. Yet, strangely, the days when they submit their offerings to Astounding Stories seems to be off days. Not one of them has given us a story to equal his best for the other magazines. For instance, Ray Cummings has yet to write a story for you as entertaining as The Girl in the Golden Atom, or his others. Speaking of Cummings, I wish he would take a course in grammar. His grammatical atrocities, such as sentences without predicates, are eye-racking. The main purpose of this letter, however, is to offer a fervent plea for reprints. I am unalterably opposed to your short-sighted policy in regard to the reprinting of old science fiction tales long out of print. You made an utterly asinine statement when you declared that 99% of your readers have already read these classics. We did not say that. We said, would it be fair to 99% of our readers to force on them reprint novels they have already read or had a chance to read? Editor. I am willing to wager that the percentage is nearer 10%. For instance, can a baby read magazines? You seem to grant them this strange ability. Most of the stories that should be reprinted were published from 8 to 15 years ago in one other magazine. That automatically excludes all those who have not been constant readers of that one magazine. In the second place, the average reader of your magazine is under 21. I am 18 myself. When the science classics were published, we were anywhere from 4 to 10 years of age. In the third place, relatively few of these stories were published in book form, and these few have for years been out of print. Try to buy The Moon Pool, the greatest science fiction story ever written, in book form. In the fourth place, even those who were old enough to understand them did not become interested in science fiction until several years ago. In the fifth place, the few who have read them, and they are very few, would welcome the chance to reread them. In the sixth place, and this is the most important reason of all, not one of the stories you have published is worth rereading, or is even a 16th as good as some of the old stories. Take a sporting offer. If you don't, I won't think much of you. Publish just one of the science fiction classics, preferably A. Merritt's Through the Dragon class, which so many of your readers have clamored for, and see how gratifying is its reception. If it does not receive their acclaim, you could reprint one story in each issue. J. Vernon Shea, Jr., 1140 North Negley Avenue, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Write Formula. Dear Editor, I have been a satisfied and silent reader of your magazine, and while I am still satisfied, I wish to break my silence. A letter by C. E. Bush, of Decatur, Arkansas, in the January issue has caught my attention. Miss Bush apparently does not care whether the stories contain science or not. I believe she wants the authors to leave out the scientific explanations of the various machines and forces used in the story. To me, an improbable story is much more interesting if the author succeeds in making it seem perfectly plausible. The author needs to give technical explanations now and then to do this, and a good author can weave these facts into the fiction in such a manner that they are not dry. For some reason, the letter by M. Clifford Johnston of Newark, New Jersey, antagonizes me. I am willing to admit that there are, or were, one or two stories that showed a definite lack of scientific explanation in certain parts, yet I do not believe that all the issues can be condemned because of these few stories. Mr. Johnston is apparently the opposite of Miss Bush. He, from the sound of his letter, revels in scientific explanations. On the whole, I've enjoyed practically every story, and am thankful to you for your magazine. I believe that most of the authors have found the right formula for mixing their explanations with the story, so that such technical discussions are complete without being dry. I enjoy the novelettes more than either the short stories or the serials. The serials are all right, but a month is too long to let the hero or heroine suffer. Imagine how we suffer, too, from the suspense. If either Miss Bush or Mr. Johnston feel they have been misunderstood and wronged in any way, I shall be glad to either apologize or vindicate myself in a personal letter to them. May Astounding Stories continue to improve. Ben Smith, Box 1542, Butte, Montana. Fiction's the thing. Dear Editor, Hurrah for Mr. Lorenzo's letter in January's The Reader's Corner. For a half year already, all other science fiction magazines have had to struggle along without my patronage also. For the same reason as Mr. Lorenzo gives, I want to heartily congratulate you, Mr. Editor, on your magazine. I have read science fiction stories since the first magazine of its kind ever appeared in print. They started out good, but in the last few years have utterly degenerated into a collection of dry, drawn-out lectures. Also, C. E. Bush's letter should be rated as 100% correct. We want fiction, mixed with some science, and above all, a good plot and lots of action, and if your authors feel so inclined, let them weave a romance into the stories, too. We read stories to be amused, not for technical information. I am a radio operator, but I wouldn't think of reading a story for information of the latest transmitter design. Mr. Editor, your choice of authors is par excellence. I can't too highly emphasize this, because we don't want the authors who write for other science fiction magazines. Why? Because they can't even write a story that has a semblance of coherence or plot to it, and never any action. If you should ever use any of these writers, I shall give up science fiction altogether. Please, Mr. Editor, continue to run Astounding Stories yourself, and don't heed the request of a minority who want dead authors to write dead stories in our magazine. The Pirate Planet is the fastest moving, best written interplanetary story I have ever read, and I've read scores. C. W. Diffin surpasses himself. Vagabonds of Space was great. Isn't a sequel possible? I have your January issue before me, and although I haven't read it yet, I'm delighted to see Murray Leinster with us again. He's excellent. I can't figure out how you can afford so many top-notch authors in each issue, but keep it up, because it's the life of your magazine. As Mr. Addison says in his letter, why ruin a truly great magazine by catering to a misguided minority, and printing flops by cheap writers who are ruining other science fiction magazines? Forgive me for so much repetition, Mr. Editor. Run your magazine as is, and I'll continue to be an interested reader. P. C. Favre, 124 Columbia Heights, Brooklyn, New York. For Blushers. Dear Editor, I noticed in a letter in the December number of Astounding Stories that one of your readers thinks your covers too gaudy. In fact, he blushes when he buys it. If he feels that way about it, why doesn't he subscribe to it and take the cover off when he reads it? I believe that the majority of your readers like your covers and illustrations, and are not afraid to let people see them reading Astounding Stories. I wish that you could have a long novelette like The 8 Men of Zalati in every issue of our magazine. The longer stories are most always the more interesting. That is one of the reasons why I like book-length serials. Why should 5 novels monthly get all the breaks? I'm sure that you, as editor of our magazine, think Astounding Stories the best magazine published by Mr. Clayton. I should think that you would like to see it published in as good an edition as F.N.M. I am pretty sure that the majority of your readers would not mind paying 5 cents more for many more pages of fiction, smooth cut edges, and a better grade of paper. Jack Darrow, 4225 North Spaulding Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. The Reader's Corner. All readers are extended a sincere and cordial invitation to come over in the Reader's Corner and join in our monthly discussion of stories, authors, scientific principles, and possibilities, everything that's of common interest in connection with our Astounding Stories. Although from time to time the editor may make a comment or so, this is a department primarily for readers, and we want you to make full use of it. Likes, dislikes, criticisms, explanations, roses, brickbats, suggestions, everything's welcome here. So come over in the Reader's Corner and discuss it with all of us. The Editor. End of section 30. End of Astounding Stories 15, March 1931, by various authors.